So Lamar Jackson returned to practice this week. We all giving each other high fives and we giving each other hugs. We so happy and excited. We like, yeah, we getting our guy back. But then we got hit with a swerve literally this morning from Ian Rapoport. So let's read that. He said, sources, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson ran the scout team on Friday. And when that first came across my screen, Lamar, scout team, what? Well, that boy don't know scout team, man. Like, what is this? But continuing, says, Lamar Jackson ran the scout team on Friday, an indication that the two-time MVP is a week away from returning despite having a full practice. Then it said Tyler Snoop Huntley. I hate when they call him Tyler Snoop Huntley. Call him either Tyler Huntley or call him Snoop. Don't call him Tyler Snoop Huntley. I hate when they do that. Anyway, Snoop signed off the practice squad because, they signed him to the active roster yesterday. Would be in line to start versus the Bears if Lamar Jackson can't go. So, this is a very weird, peculiar report. Because, Lamar Jackson limited on Wednesday, limited on Thursday, full on Friday. But then this comes out, and it seemed like Ian Rapoport sort of covered himself, too. He's like, hey, Lamar Jackson, he ran with the scout team on Friday. So it's looking like he's not going to start. But then he says, Snoop Huntley would be in line to start if Lamar Jackson can't go. So it's kind of like almost double reporting. Like, Lamar Jackson not expected to go. But maybe he might go. But anyway, this is just weird. It kind of not killed the vibe for tomorrow, but it sort of dampened it a lot. That really changes a lot if Lamar Jackson can't go. We obviously still hoping that he can go. And hey, what I'm hoping for, and I know, again, sometimes I get a little delusional, but what I'm hoping for is that maybe John Harbaugh just really has everybody in the dark. Maybe he got everybody like wondering, because like Jeremy Fowler just this morning, he was on a video talking about, Lamar Jackson, he was in practice, he was throwing dots, and everybody was super excited, so it's looking like he's on track to play against the Bears. But then Ian Rapoport comes out with this. So, bottom line, we're going to wait till tomorrow. I mean, we obviously ain't got no choice, but tomorrow will let us know the full story. I know Jeff Zrebiec, a lot of people have been asking him because obviously he's everybody's go-to when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens. I've seen a lot of people question, hey, how does Lamar look? Does Lamar look okay? And I remember on Thursday, Jeff Zrebiec was like, somebody was like, if you had to, not bet on it, but if you had to put your confidence level in Lamar Jackson playing, would you think he would play? And Jeff Zrebiec said no. But he said, it ain't up to me. He said if Lamar told him if he's ready, and the coach said if he's ready, then he'll play. And if not, but that's what Jeff Zrebiec said. So I was like, oof. But he also did say that only a portion of practice is what the media sees. So again, this whole thing is crazy, man. It really is. This is one of being a Ravens fan. Like it ain't for the weak. It's really not. Like in the highs, it ain't for the weak. In the lows, it ain't for the weak. Because in the highs, we go like, Ravens, we got these great regular season records. We be doing our thing. Super Bowl. And then we know what happens in the end. But then in the lows, just all this crazy stuff just keeps happening to us. Like we 1-5 right now, y'all. But even with this Lamar Jackson news, again, we'll see what happens. But something else we're going to see what happens with is Todd Monken, because he has been getting thrown to the wolves, getting thrown under the bus. That man has been getting scapegoated like crazy. And let's look at this article that is just, it ain't looking good. So we covered the Baltimore Sun's article from a couple of days ago that was just literally going crazy on Todd Monken in a bad way. And just big up in John Harbaugh and Zach Orr, which is crazy. You would have thought the Baltimore Ravens, with all these star-studded players on defense and their defense being last or next to last, that they would be getting all the negative attention, all the negative publicity. But it's actually been Ravens offense and Todd Monken that's been getting all the negative attention. But it didn't stop there, because the Baltimore Banner, so he already got it from the Sun. And all these 25 people inside and outside the building and sources and stuff, he already got it from the Baltimore Sun. But now he's getting it from the Baltimore Banner too. And it only gets worse. So before we get into this article, which is called The Ravens Season of Discontent, How Losing Exposed Problems, Rifts on Offense. And this came from Gianna Hahn. She's been covering the Baltimore Ravens. It ain't looking good for Todd Monken. It's really not. It ain't looking good for him. I am very confident in saying that this is for sure his last season with the Baltimore Ravens, if he even makes it through this whole season. He's done. He's done with it seems like they're done with him, actually. So anyway, let's get into this article and sit down, relax. We might be here for a little while. It says, as the Ravens look to turn around a spiraling season, some players have grown confused and frustrated by Coordinator Todd Monken's play calling, according to team sources. So out the gate, it's already saying, hey, what's going on with this play calling? It's continuing. Over his first 2 record-breaking seasons in Baltimore, Monken typically followed the plan he laid out to players and coaches during their week of preparation. The only notable exception, sources told the Banner, was in the Ravens' loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2023 AFC Championship game, when running backs Gus Edwards and Justice Hill combined for just 6 carries. Oh, we remember that. We were wondering, how does this team look at the Chiefs and Bills game the previous week? The Bills ran all over the Chiefs, but then the Baltimore Ravens decided, you know what? We're not going to run the ball. We're a dominant running team, but we're not going to run the ball against this Chiefs team that cannot stop the run. Oh, that was just a very frustrating game. And you only lose. You do all this crazy stuff that doesn't make any kind of sense, and you only lose the game by 7. That's what made it even more frustrating. That the Ravens, they played bad, they played terrible, the game plan was just horrific, and they still only lost by 7. It's been one of the most frustrating things about these Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs, because they will make 20 million mistakes and lose the game by 1 score every time. Anyway, continuing. He says, but this year, Monken has surprised him around the team with his play calls, deviating before the Ravens have even fallen behind in games. That approach, sources said, has created a disconnect with players who've practiced certain plays during the week and felt good about how they were executed, only for a different approach to be adopted in game. So they're saying, hey, they go during the week, they do one thing, and it's looking good. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to put this in the game. Then during the game, they completely flip the script. It says, after 81 total points in week 1 and week 2, the Ravens' offensive production has steadily dropped with progressively fewer points in each outing over their 4-game losing streak. Some struggles were to be expected after star quarterback Lamar Jackson suffered a hamstring injury in week 4 loss to the Chiefs, sidelining him for the next 2 games and potentially keeping him out of Sunday's crucial home game against the Chicago Bears. Slip that in there, potentially keeping him out. Anyway, but several sources who spoke with the Banner on the condition of anonymity, that word just be getting me every time. I struggle with it in the Baltimore Sun article too. That word just be killing. Anyway, he said, to freely discuss team dynamics, said they believe the Ravens had the talent to overcome Lamar Jackson's absence and that they felt let down by uncharacteristic changes to the offensive schemes. And then the part from Kyle Gooner says Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken might be in hotter water than Zach Orr. And that is embarrassing, in my opinion. Embarrassing. Because anyway, let's just continue. It says, an unexpected 1-5 start in Baltimore has left players and coaches searching for answers. There are obvious culprits. 4 of the losses have come to Super Bowl contenders, and injuries to defensive lineman Nnamdi Madubuike, Lamar Jackson, and others have forced them to rely on young, inexperienced players. A leaky defense has been one of the NFL's most disappointing units, and inconsistent offensive line has struggled to create running lanes and protect the pocket. But there's also been a current of discontent with Todd Monken, who entered his 3rd season in Baltimore as a potential head coaching candidate. Sources says Monken, his hard-driven style has not resonated with certain players amid the team's struggles, with one saying the 59-year-old who spent most of his coaching career in college is still getting better with handling professional athletes. Monken's agent did not reply to a request for a follow-up interview after the coach answered questions from reporters on Thursday. Sources who spoke to the Banner said Monken has not lost the trust of the offense. Many players believe, based on his first 2 years in Baltimore, that he can still help them win games. But they've questioned his approach as a once promising season has deteriorated. While they push back against the notion that the offense lacks creativity, that's a lazy way of putting it, one source said. Some players have taken issue with the rhythm and timing of his calls. Now, I will say that is certainly true. We've seen it all throughout this season. We've seen it times last season too. It's like, what are we doing? What is going on? What kind of game plan is this? What kind of call is this? Why are we something that this year that they've been doing? Even when Lamar was playing, it's like, hold up. Why are we getting cute here? For what? It's not a necessity. What's the issue? But see, this is why Todd Monken definitely has his issues, and we've been talking about this for a majority of the season. But this is where Todd Monken is not the biggest issue, in my opinion. And this is what, again, John Harbaugh, we talked about it, how, remember when he was calling out Todd Monken in that press? He was going in on Todd Monken and stuff. Oh, yeah, we didn't do this, we didn't do that with our game plan, da, 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 da. And then he that same presser, he was backing Zach Orr, like, oh, no, Zach Orr's fine, da, da, da. It's like, hold up. That would ultimately, it is Todd Monken's responsibility for the offense, obviously, but that would ultimately, wouldn't that fall on John Harbaugh too? Because he's the head coach. You're the one that's in charge of, you oversee everything. You don't just oversee offense. You don't just oversee defense. You oversee this entire team. You oversee roster decisions, who plays, who doesn't, the offense and defense. You oversee everything. So if he's really going that far away, if he's deteriorating from the game plan, then why aren't you stepping in? Why do we have to hear it in the press? Oh, man, he got away from the game. Why didn't you step in and say, hey, let's get back on track? That's what's so weird about this whole. That's why Todd Monken is done, man. He's done. You know, he's done with the Ravens, man. They done with him. This relationship, especially with all these articles that are coming out, and especially now, again, obviously we hope that this offense gets it right. We hope that Lamar Jackson plays tomorrow. We'll see. But we hope that this offense gets it right. But with these, again, the timing, and I ain't trying to have on a tinfoil hat or anything like that. I ain't trying to be an inch-high private eye or what's that in Investigator, that old school, that cartoon. Oh, isn't it Detective Gadget? Not Detective. Anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about. Inspector Gadget. There we go. Inspector Gadget. But anyway, I would not, especially with the timing of these articles, I would not be surprised if Todd Monken, and obviously if the Ravens offense couldn't get it going against the Bears in Miami, with the time, I would not be surprised if they let him go after that Miami game during that 10-day break. I don't want him to be let go because I want the offense to be on point. I want them to pick it up. We want Lamar Jackson to play. We need Lamar Jackson to play. But I would not be shocked if they did that, especially with the timing of this stuff. And what's crazy too, like, is Todd Monken a better offensive coordinator than Greg Roman? Is he? I'm sure if you asked any Ravens fan that, 9.9999999% of them, no, not 9.9, 99.9999999% of them would say yes. There was never once, no single article like this on Greg Roman at all. And this is multiple on Todd Monken in the same week. It's not a coincidence, my friends. It's not. It's not a coincidence. There was never anything like this on Greg Roman. The thing that we did get was that Tyus Bowser, when he posted that story, was somebody writing on the paper, fire Greg Roman. But articles like this, anyway, let's get back to it. It says that based on his first 2 years, that people still feel like he can still help the team win games. But they've questioned his approach as a once promising season has deteriorated. While they push back against the notion that the offense lacks creativity, that's a lazy way of putting it. One source says some players have taken issue with the rhythm and timing of his calls. Some players feel like Todd Monken, as part of an effort to spread the ball around, has overcomplicated his approach. That is something that the Baltimore Ravens love to do, overcomplicate things. It says, at the same time, sources said the Ravens have become too predictable with their personnel tendencies. Well, I mean, we could have told you that, especially about the whole Derrick Henry, Justice Hill thing. That's an obvious one right there. I think that is the obvious one. There's others not so obvious, but, well, in my opinion, but that one is the obvious one. Anyway, it says, sources who spoke to the Banner were careful to say that players on both sides of the ball deserve blame for the season's slow start. Locker room angst, they acknowledged, is more likely to bubble up during losing seasons, too. Well, of course, yeah. Said, but as the Ravens look to orchestrate a dramatic turnaround, only 4 teams in modern league history have started 1-5 and gone on to make the playoffs. The sources hope their concerns will be taken into consideration. It says a different dynamic. While the Ravens defense has been historically bad at points this season, both players and coach John Harbaugh have vehemently defended coordinator Zach Orr. This is crazy. It's crazy and it's frustrating and it's just like, what? Again, we said this after the Baltimore Banner article. After the Baltimore Sun article, but after this article, again, it just, and I would hate this, but it just seems like both John Harbaugh and Zach Orr are going to be safe no matter what happens this season. It seems like it. It really does. It seems like it. But let's see. Anyway, it says the vibe around Todd Monken has been different. Oh yeah, they. Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Said Harbaugh has openly laid blame at his feet after the 37-20 loss to the Chiefs. He questioned certain play calls and rebuked the staff for two delay of game penalties in a single series. I mean, that's play calling. Harbaugh said last month when asked after the game about short yardage failures. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm happy about it at all. I'm sure that Todd is not happy about it either. None of us are. You have to look at that and decide what you want to run there in some of the circumstances and situations. If they work, they look good. The Chiefs threw the ball on 4th and short and 3rd and short a few times and completed them. So maybe we just need better plays that are going to pop open. Maybe we have to do a better job of game planning those plays. So, yeah, I remember that. That's when he was just going in on Todd Monken, taking direct shots publicly too at Todd Monken. So this article, it doesn't come as a surprise, but it's just continuing to confirm what a lot of us already thought, that there's a rift. There's an issue with between John Harbaugh and Todd Monken. They don't seem like they seeing eye to eye. They don't seem like they clicking. And again, what I said about Zach Orr, especially after that Baltimore Sun article, it seemed like Zach Orr, he's there, he's like, hey, I'm out of it. They got nothing to do with me, even though it should. But Zach Orr just like, hey, but it seems like this is a Harbaugh-Monken issue, in my opinion. Anyway, continuing. It says Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken we read that part already. Said Monken didn't shrink from his boss's critiques and took ownership of the offense shortcomings in the game. One thing that I've done throughout my career is that you got to look at what you do, Todd Monken said. And that's what I've done my whole career is, okay, how did we scheme it? How do we coach it? How do we execute it? How was our plan? All of those things we can go into. And when it's below the line, you got to own it and fix it. The Ravens offense was explosive, if inconsistent, with Lamar Jackson under center, averaging 34.7 points in 3 games he finished, but without the 2-time NFL most valuable player available. The offense has been largely discombobulated. Sources said some of that stems from Monken's style. While Zach Orr, 33, is a former Ravens player, he even has a former teammate still on the roster in defensive lineman Brent Urban, who often jubilantly celebrates on the sideline. Monken operates from more of a remove. This is nasty. This is getting nasty. Because they're showing that Zach Orr, that he's on the sideline, but Monken operates from more of a remove, so because he be up in the booth. So they're trying to use that against Todd Monken. Oh, we know NFL's a nasty business. We know that. We knew that for a long time now. But it's always interesting when you see different ways of how nasty it really is. Let's continue, though. It says, around the facility, even sources who do not get along with Monken have a grudging respect for him. Jackson won MVP in 2023, Monken's first year in Baltimore, and was even better last season when he finished second in voting. The 2024 Ravens led the league in yards per play, yards per game, and red zone touchdown rate, and finished third in third down conversion rate and points per game. This year, the offense's recent struggles have raised questions about Monken's locker room buy-in. It's not imperative that players have amiable relationships with their coordinator, sources said, but it can't hurt. One source explained that better connections with play callers can lead to better play calls, as there's a greater understanding of players' strengths and weaknesses going into games. Source said, Monken is not always an easy person to work with or for. Players have clashed with him in meetings, with some storming out midway through. Monken arrived in Baltimore with a reputation as a tough love coach, but some players have found the love part does not feel genuine. Like, you listen to this article, and if you listen to this article and you try to tell me with a straight face, oh yeah, hey, Monken, he's going to be here another season with the Ravens. Again, he might not even finish this one by how this sounds. But anyway, continue. It says, winning, of course, kept things running smoothly over his first 2 years in Baltimore, but a 1-5 record this year has left some cracks showing. On Thursday, Monken was asked at a press conference whether he feels this season has tested his relationship with coaches and players. And Monken said, no, not at all. I don't see it that way. Harbaugh has set an unbelievable culture of confronting everything that gets in the way of winning football. We're frustrated, but we're not deterred. I love our energy this week. We're fired up. We're ready to go. We've had a couple of great practices. Looking forward to seeing how it turns out Sunday, but I don't feel that way. This isn't my first rodeo here. This isn't like I just showed up, so I've said that before. We've been a really darn good we've been a really darn good around here, and we expect to be good again. Still, that was the end of the quote. Still, there's a feeling, sources said, that those charged with executing Monken's vision are not always aligned with his approach. Over the bye week, the Ravens brought out 4 assistant coaches for their first and only news conference since the end of training camp. 2 answers from that session appeared to indicate discord. When asked why the Ravens were able to run the ball better in their Week 6 loss to the Los Angeles Rams, offensive line coach George Warhop suggested it was not an execution problem, but a philosophical one. That depends on how we approach a game from an offensive perspective, Warhop said. If we choose to run the ball, I think we have the capabilities of running the ball. So really, it's how we decide we want to approach a game. Ooh. So basically a shot at Todd Monken saying, hey, you choose not to run the ball. You see what happens when we actually decide we're going to run the ball? It works, but you choose not to. And next, it says, quarterbacks coach T. Martin was asked whether Jackson, who has been sacked 15 times in 4 games after just taking 23 sacks in 17 games a year ago, that is crazy, should try to get the ball out faster. He directed the question to Monken. Some things are within the plays that are called where we're trying to get the ball out, and sometimes routes are deeper developing, Martin said. If you're in 3rd and 8 or 9, you're not going to throw the ball for 5 yards. Todd was just here before me. It's kind of a question for him, but our job is to execute the plays that are called and to do the best we can to get the ball out. So T. Martin, he said, hey, ask Todd about that. He was just up here at the podium. Ask him. This ain't about me. But he did call out that play calling. And who calls the plays? Todd Monken. He's out of here. Too much of a good thing. Ravens players still have faith that the offense can get going with Monken in charge, sources says, but only if he worries less about spreading touches around. The question of whether the Ravens would be able to feed so many talented players this season became a talking point during training camp, but players said then and still believe that a veteran roster would not get bogged down in worrying about who got the ball. Sources said Monken has overcomplicated his approach, creating confusion with substitutions and play variations that have prevented the offense from finding its rhythm. Some players feel the offense is well designed but disagree with how calls are being deployed. The Ravens' goal line failure at the end of the first half against the Rams, for example, has lingered. Players had confidence that 3 runs from the 1-yard line should have been enough to reach the end zone and take a 10-3 lead in the halftime. Oh, well, I agree. I think we all agree for that. But when you look at it, your offensive line has been all kinds of bad this whole season. And again, hey, Ravens refuse to make a change. Okay, you're going to live by die by this offensive line. This offensive line couldn't score multiple games from the 1-yard line. This offensive line got your starting quarterback hurt, but you still refuse to make a change there. That, in my opinion, is not a Todd Monken issue. That one's not. There's been some play calling that certainly has been, but the offensive line is not a Todd Monken issue. So there's only so much you can do with a bad offensive line. Now, he does need to help them out. If they're not going to change the offensive line, they got to change up the play calling. You have to, because you're stuck in between a rock and a hard place. You got this bad offensive line, and it's rough, so it limits what you can do on offense. So you got to try to help them out the best way you possibly can. Anyway, this is crazy. I said, but players felt that Monken's play calls, including 2 tush-push attempts with tight end Mark Andrews, were out of step with the game flow and the Ravens' matchup advantages. Sources also pointed to the offense's 4th down struggles against the Chiefs. The Ravens finished 1 for 4 with Jackson in for the first failed attempt and backup Cooper Rush going 1 for 3 in the 4th quarter of the blowout loss. While there were shortcomings in the execution, the formations and play calls were notable. On the Ravens' 4th down failure, Henry was on the sideline for a 4th and 1 drop back. That right there, that has been a huge issue for this year and obviously last year because we got Derrick Henry last season. That has been one of the biggest issues with this offense. They take Derrick Henry off the field in crucial situations. It was a big issue last year, all throughout the season. It's been a big issue this year, all throughout the season. They always take Derrick Henry off the, not always, but too many times. They take him off the field in critical situations, critical downs. And again, that is a tell with this offense. It's a big issue. Continuing, it says, on the Ravens' first 4th down failure, Henry was on the sideline for a 4th and 1 drop back. Jackson ended up throwing the ball out of play under pressure. On another 4th and 2 play with Rush at quarterback, Henry was again missing. Hill was lined up at receiver, and wide receiver Rashad Bateman was in the backfield. Rush overthrew Bateman, who was running a short was running a route well short of the first down sticks on a play that also ended up out of play. The Ravens have been unable to find ways to sustain drives, ranking 28th in time of possession per game. Last season, they were 6th. This leaves the defense with little time to rest, further weakening their performance. Monken's offense has been better on opening drives, which are often scripted. The Ravens have scored on 9 of their first 12 half opening drives. Where things seem to be falling apart is when Monken has more room to improvise. Some Ravens players, according to sources, believe that with 2+ years of Monken's offense on tape for opponents to study, they're becoming predictable. Harbaugh has in recent weeks downplayed any concerns around the idea and said after the loss to Kansas City that the offense broke from some tendencies, but sources said Harbaugh has been harping on the topic behind closed doors. Monken said Thursday that he doesn't think his game plans have been predictable. We've had tendencies the last 2 years. If you're really good, you have tendencies. That's what you do. When they look on film, they look at what you do well and what you don't do well. When you're struggling, you have tendencies. When you're not doing well, you have tendencies. Tendencies aren't really the issue. It's do you know them? Do you know what they're seeing? And then how do you combat that? The Ravens, according to sources, started addressing some issues before their loss to the Rams. Players have said that their bye week came at a great time to allow coaches to figure out solutions. When the team returned this week, sources said coaches had a plan in place. Monken, for his part, has accepted responsibility at his weekly news conferences for the offensive struggle and for the need to find a fix. While some sources said Monken's tone can be arrogant, they said he acknowledged he needs to adapt. Players have also reckoned with their own role in the offense's troubles. While the unit is executing at a higher level than the defense, it's not perfect. That, sources said, is partly because the players never expected to have to overcome these sort of issues. So we got a nice little reminder about, hey, the offense has still been better than the defense, but they making this all about the offense. We ain't seen no articles come out about no Zach Orr. We ain't seen no hit articles come out about Zach Orr. But all this been directed at Todd Monken. Let's move on. It says success breeds complacency. The Ravens came into the season with high expectations inside and outside team headquarters around Baltimore. Many media members were picking them to win the Super Bowl. While, at least publicly, players claimed to not pay attention to the prediction, sources said the locker room grew overconfident. Ooh. That's not good. It says, even in the fourth quarter of the Ravens season opener against the Buffalo Bills, many players were convinced there was no way the game would slip away. We let our reputation get to our heads, one source said. This is not good at all. The embarrassing 41-40 loss should have been a warning to players that simply wearing a Ravens uniform wouldn't be enough, but as things went downhill in subsequent weeks, players kept counting the losses. The Ravens' blowout loss to the Houston Texans in Week 5 was a wake-up call. They played better a week later against the Rams, but with Jackson sidelined, they still lost. Heading into the bye, many players were stunned by their record. What the heck? Got to clean that up because that's not Team Keep It Clean. It said, we're 1-5 is how one source described the mentality in the locker room. Another said coaches and players mention their record every day. When the team returned this week from a much-needed bye, the Ravens had a motivational speaker, Eric Thomas, lined up. He talked about the 2011 New York Giants, who finished the regular season 9-7, but went on a playoff run and won a Super Bowl. The message to players, it was time to stop focusing on how their first 6 games went and start focusing on what their 11 remaining regular season games could be. How much of an impact will the reset have on the team and the Ravens staff? This team will see on Sunday. Oh, boy. Wow. It is bad in that Ravens locker room. It sounds like, again, from the Baltimore Sun article, it sounded like inside that facility was a mess. From the Baltimore Banner article that we read just now, it sounds like inside that facility is a train wreck, is an absolute just bad, all kinds of bad. Mentality, it seems like, from what we read, it seems like the Ravens are mentally done. That's what it sounds like from what we read. Hopefully, starting on Sunday, things can begin to turn around. But who knows if Lamar Jackson will even be playing. So, if it's Snoop out there against the Bears this Sunday, we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know, man. It's a lot. This is a lot. But it's a lot of unknowns, and a lot of this stuff we just gotta wait it out and see. So we'll see how things go. I will see you all tomorrow. Of course, for the live stream, we're gonna start a little bit earlier at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's gonna be about 30 minutes before the game because we have a little fantasy game that we're going to play. Because, we don't really dive into fantasy football like that. But we decided, you know what, we're going to do something a little different tomorrow for the game. So join me early for that. But, yeah, these Ravens, boy, they got a mess. It's a mess going on with them right now. But hopefully, they can start cleaning things up against Chicago.